Hi, Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine with another little unboxing video, and this one looks at Steve Gibbons' band, Rollin The Albums from 1976 to 1978. So let's look straight inside and I'll go through the contents and then have a little bit of chat about what I think of it. So Steve Gibbons' band, Rollin The Albums 1976 to 1978. A nice solid clamshell box, nice glossy finish as you'd expect from Esoteric and cherry red. Inside is a booklet which I'll come to in a moment, and the albums are Any Road Up. It's interesting how you'll notice that some songs and song titles end up on different records, although they're different tracks. I shall talk about the albums after I've gone through the box, but this is the first one where they've replicated the front and back cover, as you can see, and there's some great tracks on here. This is probably the one that most people arrived at because of the hit single Tulane from Chuck Berry is on this. The one that really hit the charts as the band were traversing the world with The Who, Caught in the Act, which is a fantastically produced album. Down in the Bunker, and then the Radio 1 in Concert from November 1977. The booklet is a nice, really thick affair, and it's basically an interview with Steve Gibbons himself going through his history, his career, and I found this absolutely fascinating. You know, this isn't just a few trinkets or compilation of stuff from different magazines, and it's from Malcolm Dome, London, September 2021. You know, it's a shame we lost Malcolm towards the end of last year. Great writer, and he's done a fantastic job on this booklet. And then you've got details on the music with great photos. All of these albums come with bonus tracks, either singles, B-sides or outtakes. As you can see here, this is Rollin On, and this one, I think this is another point I like to make here, that if where possible they've mimicked the original vinyl album, which obviously this album came with the lyrics, so here they are, which I think is a lovely touch with more photos as well. I don't have the original vinyl, so I don't know whether those photos are actually from the vinyl version. And there we have the live one, which comes with bonus tracks from BBC Radio 1 John Peel sessions. And then this one, Down in the Bunker. Now look how many bonus tracks you get here. And all of those bonus tracks are, to me, just as valid as the main album. So this is the one, as I'll say in a moment, that I really, really love. That should have been a big hit. And again, you get the lyrics with this album as well. Look at that car, fantastic. He was one cool, well he still is one cool dude. And then you've got the CD number 5, which is the Radio 1 in Concert. And you can see here it's been compiled and coordinated by Mark Powell and Vicky Powell. 24-bit digital mastering by Pascal Byrne at the Audio Archiving Company in Hertfordshire. And Pascal Byrne is fantastic at remastering, and you know, this is a wonderful sounding set. So let's chat a little bit now about Steve Gibbons. So as you can see, it's another well presented and well put together box set from Cherry Red Records, Esoteric Recordings, and I think they're really hitting their stride now with these, you know, and especially for me because they're putting together such elaborate little booklets that go together with the package. And I think that's, as I've said before, is what makes this so special to collectors. Now, I'm originally from the Birmingham area. I'm now living in Cornwall, but I was part of the Birmingham kind of music scene at the time. And Steve Gibbons was kind of like the elder statesman of the time. For the kind of Birmingham bands, we knew of Steve Gibbons. Sometimes you'd see him around town and he looked like a rock star. It looked, obviously towards the kind of 76, 78 period where I was in my world, we were all kind of Rainbow, Priest, metal, and a lot of bands, were for Birmingham. That was the core, I think, of what a lot of the musicians were involved in. But Steve Gibbons had the residency down the Railway on one night a week, and the Railway pub was where a lot of bands wanted to have a residency, and I myself had a residency at the Railway when I was a lead guitarist with the Handsome Beasts. But Steve Gibbons was kind of a respected guy, and what's interesting about this box set is I think Peter Walsh, one of the subscribers of this channel, has said that it's the Birmingham or UK version of Bob Seger. That's an interesting comparison because it mentions this in the booklet, and Steve Gibbons himself can't see it. And at first, neither could I, but I'm a massive Bob Seger fan, and but if you roll back to Bob Seger albums like Mongrel, back in 72, 7, Rambling Gambling Man, then you can, not because of the vocal delivery, but more to do with the music itself. Because what is interesting, I think, about the Steve Gibbons band is that musically, what I first discovered, obviously, was Tulane, the single, Seen Him on Top of the Pops. This was his moment. But what's interesting is that's the this album. Now, as you'll know from those of you who get this from the booklet, by the time they came to do the second album, the band were kind of fragmented a little bit, and they hadn't had time to put together the material. So it's one of those. It's a bit like Uriah Heep's Return to Fantasy. It was a huge selling album, but it wasn't one of their best. And I think Tulane sitting on this this isn't my favourite Steve Gibbons album, and I imagine if some people arrived on this, they might have left without realising what they could be missing, because what this box set has helped me say, and this is what's so great about these box sets, and as I've just said, why Cherry Red is so good at it. They talk to Steve Gibbons in the booklet himself. You feel connected. You go along with the story, which a lot of this I did not know. And the first album, and they were basically taken under the wing of John Entwistle. Roger Daltrey thought they were great. Pete Townsend, they were taken under the same management as the Who. This is a great rock album. It's when I say rock album, it's not. There is something about Steve Gibbons that makes it unique, I think, and I think, and Steve Gibbons is he's authentic. I think he not only was he respecting and wanted to keep the rock and roll flag alive. I mean, he started recording in the late 50s. So he knew about, rock and roll music to him was the source, and he was involved in so many bands in Birmingham, the Uglies and stuff. And Cherry Red have got a box set about the Brum rock scene. But there's some great tracks on here. Rollin is my favourite track on this, but this is well worth listening. It's worth the price of admission alone to me. It really is. But the one that, for me and my peer group, that we knew about the most was probably this one, which was the live one. This made the charts, and Steve Gibbons was supporting the Who everywhere they went. It's interesting that one of the tracks, One of the Boys, which almost sounds like a Who outtake, probably the Who circa the kind of Who by Numbers, that period. And in fact, that would make sense, wouldn't it? Because that was the same time they were kind of supporting them and going around the world. They had all the chances supporting Leonard Skinner, all sorts of people. I think where Steve Gibbons' band, he wrote all the music himself. This is one talented individual. And the music was very varied. And I think back in the 70s, this period, especially rock fans, and I'm including me in this, we weren't that open-minded when people kind of went left when we thought they were going to go right. We wanted it, with my previous video about AC/DC, we wanted the next one to sound like that. I think Steve Gibbons would feel like done that, and now I'm going to do this. And which comes to my second favourite album in the box, which is Down in the Bunker. And I think that this is, I'll be honest, when I first started to play this, because I'd never heard it before, it was very different to what had just come before it. But this is the one I played the most. It reminds me of the first Dire Straits album, but without Mark Knopfler. Now, some of you might think, well, I can't imagine Dire Straits without Mark Knopfler. but it's got that kind of light feel, but it's very, very good. Great humorous, humorous, observational lyrics. You know, you kind of like, we got the tracks like No Spitting on the Bus, Any Road Up, which is a Brummie saying. So you might think it's a bit light-hearted. It's observational. It's very true to life. You can kind of put yourself in the stories. And Steve Gibbons is a storyteller, which again might be where the Bob Seger stuff also comes in, because Bob Seger is a storyteller. So although Steve can't see that connection on this album, although it doesn't sound like Bob Seger in any way, musically or whatever, or deliver, or the voice, but I can understand it's his approach to songwriting. And the final one in here, of course, is the Live at the BBC, which is great to have. It really is. You know, so my feelings on this is, if you are interested in rock music, it's not pub rock, it's part of the Birmingham rock scene. And, you know, Steve Gibbons is still out there with Bevan, you know, still doing his stuff. You know, I think he's 80 years of age now, but he looks great for his age. And he's kept true to his roots. You know, he's proud of his Birmingham roots. You know, there's a lot of great music come out of Birmingham, and he's proud of, you know, representing, you know, rock and roll. But that's Steve Gibbons' band Rollin, and the album's from 1976 to 1978, out now on Esoteric, Cherrywood Records, and I highly recommend it. So thank you for watching, thank you for being with me, thank you for subscribing and commenting, and I shall see you on my next video.